Kyle was a talented swordsman who became a hero and defeated the Demon King. But in the process, he lost everyone he ever cared about. But when a mysterious crystal sends him 4 years into the past, he trains to become the strongest so that he can rewrite his fate. On the continent of Lunders, 2 opposing forces live. On the right, there are the species blessed by the god of light that include humans, dwarves, and elves. And on the left, there are demons, who are blessed by the god of darkness. These 2 forces have always fought each other for thousands of years, but 300 years ago, a rather peaceful demon king took the throne and stopped all aggression towards the humanoids. Humans and other species grew used to this temporary peace, and they were not ready for things to change. In the 5th month of 2826, a new demon king took the throne, and under his command, the demon army launched an all-out attack on the humanoids, which would later be called the Great Invasion. The ruthless invasion destroyed many humanoid kingdoms quickly, and even the largest empire could not protect itself. As the situation grew even more hopeless, the humanoids decided to take a desperate measure by pooling their remaining forces and engaging the demons in an all-out war. While the army fought against the demon army and his generals, a group of their strongest warriors were sent to infiltrate the Demon King's castle and assassinate him. Kyle is the leader of the assassination team that includes his best friend Theron and the elf mage Urza. As they are running through a hallway, an explosion suddenly separates them and kills the random soldiers going with them. Theron gets injured from the explosion, but as he sees 2 demons standing guard in front of a chained female demon, he realizes that he should keep them busy for the sake of their mission. He tells Kyle and Urza to go ahead because he will catch up with them after he is finished here. And Kyle knows that his friend plans to sacrifice his life to stop the 2 demons. While Theron fights the 2 demons alone, Kyle and Urza reach the throne room. Kyle gulps up some super concentrated roid juice so that he can fight at full potential, and Urza looks sad because she knows that he is going to lose his life because of the side effects of the medicine after its effects end. Kyle then opens the door to the throne room and finds a glowing gemstone in the middle. He is curious about it, so he decides to check it out, when suddenly Urza warns him that an attack is coming from above. Kyle manages to block some of the dark orbs with his sword, but he gets hit by the rest of them, forcing him to his knees. Next, a bigger and more menacing orb comes towards him while he can't move, but Urza steps up to defend him. She uses a magic barrier to protect themselves, but the orb penetrates it and starts consuming her. Urza just smiles at Kyle one last time before she is erased from existence, and just then, the Demon King descends from the ceiling. Kyle gets up to face him, turning his rage into power, and he charges ahead, slashing the dark orbs sent by the Demon King. However, he can't do any damage because the Demon King is protected by a dense layer of mana. Kyle is forced to step back because of the Demon King's ruthless attack, and he hides behind a pillar. The Demon King simply uses the Void Orb to eat away the pillar itself, leaving Kyle no place to hide. He is pushed back and severely injured by the dark orbs, and then he asks the AI chatbot in his sword's magic stone about the strange attack earlier. The upgraded version of Alexa tells him that it was an unblockable high-tier magic that destroys everything it touches. Kyle realizes that he can't win unless he is ready to throw away his life, and he tells Alexa to release the power of the gemstone. Alexa obeys his command, and the power of the gemstone covers Kyle in a bright aura that automatically repels all attacks from the Demon King. He dashes ahead at full speed, shattering the Demon King's blade and stabbing him through the chest. But the Demon King counterattacks and deals a fatal wound to him too. Kyle just keeps pushing forward till the magic stone and his sword shatter. But that was enough to destroy the Demon King, who explodes into a bunch of black feathers. Kyle thinks that it is finally over, and now he can die in peace. He thinks about how everything he ever wanted to protect is now gone, including his family, his friends, and even the girl he loved. He falls to the ground, but then a dark feather falls next to him and vanishes, and the very next moment, the magic gemstone starts glowing. Kyle gets up and realizes that if the crystal goes out of control, the results can be disastrous. He gets up and walks towards it, stumbling at each step. He grabs the magic crystal, and suddenly, a magic circle appears around him. When Kyle opens his eyes next, he finds that he is in his room and his town is still unharmed. He starts crying, thinking that this is a dream before he goes to the afterlife. But then his childhood friend Lise comes to his room to wake him up. She gets concerned when she sees Kyle crying, but he can't control his emotions on seeing her again. He hugs her tightly, and Lise, the dispo bitch, turns red from embarrassment. Kyle doesn't know that she is real, so his hands go a bit too far south, and then he loses his balance, ending on top of Lise while she is lying on the bed. that is too much for her to handle, so she throws Kyle back and then hits him with a rib-shattering punch that leaves him gasping for air. She screams at him to at least buy her dinner before getting to second base and then runs away from the room. Only then does Kyle notice that he can feel pain, which means this is not a dream. He then suddenly notices that the red crystal from the Demon King's castle is still with him, and he wonders what is happening. He finds that he looks young and has not suffered any injuries yet, which confuses him further, but then he begins suspecting that he might have returned to the past. He immediately shoots down the idea because time travel is impossible or someone would have shown up at Stephen Hawking's party. Suddenly, he gets distracted from his thoughts because of his hunger, and he finds a lavish meal laid out for him. He knows that Lise cooked it because neither he nor his mom can cook, and he is glad to have her. Since he is eating delicious homemade food for the first time in years, he kinda overeats and finishes the whole thing, and when his best friend Theron arrives there, he freaks out. He asks Kyle if he is preparing to beat Luffy in an eating competition. He is disappointed because he wanted to eat the delicious-looking food too, and Kyle abruptly asks him about the date today. When he learns that it is the 5th month of the year 2823, Kyle freaks out because that means he has really returned to the past. Theron then reminds him that today is his birthday, and he will forgive him for eating all the food as his birthday gift for him. Theron decides to beg Lise to make him something to eat, and Kyle decides to get some answers from the most knowledgeable person he knows. He enters a storeroom next to his house and enters the basement, which has been turned into a library by his mother. As soon as Kyle sees her, he is reminded of the trauma he faced when he saw her dead body in the past, but snaps out of it when she speaks to him. Kyle tells his mom that he has a question related to magic, and since she is one of the handful of archmages in the entire country, almost no one knows more about magic than her. His mom gets happy on hearing this, and then Kyle gets to the point, asking if there are any spells to turn back time. She tells him that there are spells that can manipulate time, but they are practically impossible to use because of the enormous amount of mana they require. She says that even the greatest magician in history could not turn back time by 1 second, and Kyle asks if it would be possible if someone used a magic tool to store mana. His mom tells him that it is a nice idea, but gathering that amount of mana will take at least 1,000 years. Kyle asks what if someone uses the forbidden right to turn people's life force into magic power, and his mom thinks about it deeply, saying that it will be inefficient too. She believes that at least half of the continent's population needs to be sacrificed to generate that much mana, and on top of that, there is no magic tool that can store such a huge amount of mana. However, there is one exception. Kyle's mom pulls out a book and tells him about the heart of the legendary divine dragon that was once used by the ancient magic kingdom of Zarls to prosper. However, the power of the dragon's heart eventually ran out and the kingdom was destroyed because they could not cope with it. His mom tells him that the dragon's heart can store enough magic to travel back to time, but it went missing around 1,000 years ago when the ancient kingdom died out. She believes that demons might have found it already, and Kyle can't reveal that her theory is right. Later, Kyle goes to his favorite place to watch over his town, wondering why the Demon King was storing mana to return to the past. Just then, Lise arrives there, and she is still angry about the morning. Kyle falls on his knees and apologizes, saying that he only acted out because he had a really worrying dream this morning. Lise realizes that the dream involved her dying, and she decides to forgive Kyle because of that. She then wishes Kyle happy birthday, and he is immediately reminded of the invasion of the demon army that hit his hometown first because they live in the border region. The demons burnt their town to the ground, killing everyone, and that is how he lost Lise. He swore to get revenge for her, but this time, he decides to protect her and everyone else whom he loves. He declares that he will change his fate and the fate of the world, no matter what it takes. That night, he notes down all major events that are going to happen soon to help him prepare for the future, but he knows that it is not enough. He thinks that he can start his journey by resuming his training and heads to the woods to see his current skill level. The first thing he does is conjure up a mental image of the Demon King and tries fighting his memories of him. The Demon King turns out to be the imaginary friend Last Boss, and Kyle physically feels his attacks when he tries to deflect them with his sword. He can't keep up with the swift attacks of the Demon King because his body lacks practice, so he decides to buff himself up with magic to make up for it. He casts spells to increase his speed and agility, and finds that his spells are much more effective now. He doesn't think too hard about it and rushes straight towards the demon lord instead, who acts like a stormtrooper at first, missing all his shots, but then hits Kyle with an unpredictable headshot. Kyle falls to the ground, realizing that even with increased magic, his body can't keep up with skills and he needs to work hard if he wants to change the future. While he catches his breath on the ground, Lise and Theron watch him from behind the bushes, wondering what has gotten into him because just 3 days ago, he would have given up long ago. Just then, Theron's mom Layla arrives there, and after checking up with Lise and Theron, she asks what is the deal with Kyle because it seems he is training to fight some ridiculously fast and strong enemy. Lise replies that she is confused about that as well because just a couple days ago, Kyle was depressed and unmotivated, and Theron can confirm that. Layla says that if a guy suddenly gets a burst of motivation, the reason can only be a woman, and Lise is shocked to hear that. Seeing her so shocked and jealous makes Layla take her theory back because if Kyle gets to second base with a woman, it has to be with Lise. Well, she doesn't understand that, and in her jealousy, she marches straight to Kyle and grabs his collar. She asks him who is the bitch he is messing around with as she begins shaking him violently. And in the end, Kyle throws up his breakfast that was mainly salad, judging from the color. Later, she makes delicious lunch to apologize for her sudden burst of jealousy, and everyone is glad for that. Now that they are all gathered in one place, Kyle decides to ask them who has enough influence to get the attention of multiple nations. Theron says that any king can do that, and Kyle's mom says that the highest-ranking priests of the Earth Goddess have great influence as well. Layla thinks for a bit longer and says that hero Randolph, who defeated the Demon King 300 years ago, is also quite respected, and all humanoid species will listen to him. Now that Kyle has gotten an answer about the most influential people on the continent, he realizes that he can't become a king or a high-ranking priest in 2 years, but he can become a hero, and then he can get humans to prepare for war. Later that night, Kyle is studying alone in his room when Theron comes there. He is surprised to see him surrounded by so many books, and asks him if he is sure about becoming a hero. Kyle says that he plans to work hard for it, and asks Theron if he has any ideas that can help. Theron just asks him to go and kill the Demon Lord, because then he is guaranteed to be called a hero. But Kyle reminds him that it is Loki the end goal. Theron then says that a hero needs strength to be recognized, but Kyle believes money is more important. He explains that a hero doesn't take rewards or money for helping people, but he still needs money to travel and maintain his equipment. Theron sees the point in his argument, and then Kyle tells him that the next thing a hero needs is connection with the rich and the powerful people. The third factor to be a hero is luck, and Kyle says that only people who are present at the right places at the right time get the chance to rise up and become a hero. He declares that he is ready to do anything to become a hero, and Theron says that it is not something a real hero would say. He feels that Kyle doesn't really want to become the hero, and instead, becoming the hero is just a stepping stone to some other goal. Kyle tells him that he is right, but he just asks Theron to trust him about them. Theron wishes him the best of luck, but Kyle plans to get him involved in his plans soon. He then resumes to work on his strategy to obtain money, connections, and luck. Soon, he tells Layla, who is also his teacher, that he is leaving on a journey. Layla tells him that it is a good idea and asks him to take her son along too. That was Kyle's plan all along, and as he thanks the muscle mommy for giving him the permission, Theron asks if no one is going to ask for his consent. Soon after that, Kyle tells Lise about his plan to leave on a journey to the capital and beyond. Before she can even say anything, Kyle makes it clear that he is not going to take her along no matter how much she pleads. She gets mad that he is taking Theron and not her when she is also training and strong enough. Kyle tells her that bros before hoes, and then says that he wants her to stay in someplace safe because his journey is going to be dangerous. Lise is about to say something, but this time, Kyle quickly kisses her, leaving her completely speechless. He promises that when he returns, she will be the first person he wants to see. Lise can't say anything to that, and she just asks him to promise her that he will return home safe. After that, they head to the market to do some shopping before he goes away, and Lise notices a pretty elf in the distance. As soon as Kyle sees her side profile, he recognizes the elf named Urza and walks towards her, completely ignoring his girl. He reaches Urza and remembers how she was his main girl after he lost Lise in the past life. He remembers a scene from their private moments when she told him to call her using her real name when they are in private, but Kyle accidentally calls her by her real name excess in public. The elf girl, who normally goes by the name Urza, gets taken aback on hearing this because she is meeting Kyle for the first time. She is ready to draw out her weapon and Kyle panics on realizing what he just did. He grabs her hand to stop her and then uses a spell to put her to sleep because he knows her real name. She falls asleep in his arms, and as Kyle wonders how to explain things to her when she wakes up, he realizes that he has got bigger problems at hand. Lise is standing behind him, fuming with rage because she caught this moron cheating hours after they had their first kiss. He tries to explain things to her, but she is not ready to listen to anything and declares that she will come with him on the journey to make sure he doesn't hoe out while she is waiting for him. Anyway, Urza returns to her senses soon in Kyle's house, and she is almost ready to kill him. She asks how the hell does he know her real name because only she and her parents know it. Kyle can't tell her that she will tell the name to him herself 4 years from now when they fall in love, so he just promises to explain everything to her later. Urza is not satisfied with that, so Kyle suggests they can sign an application of contract that prevents him from using her true name for evil. Urza is shocked because normal humans don't know about that contract as well, and she asks Kyle if he is serious because if he breaks the contract, he will die. He tells her that he is serious and ready to form a contract right away, but she tells him that she can only form the contract on the night of the full moon, which is a few days away. She says that she will stay in this town till then, but Kyle stuns her by saying that he is leaving on a journey the next day. Urza has no choice but to go with him, so Lise also tags along to stop an elf from stealing her man. The next morning, as Kyle and his party are ready to leave, his mom gets emotional, and his dad is also there, but Kyle almost doesn't recognize his face because he is never around. With that, the four of them leave on their journey, and Kyle basically wears Urza down into accepting to join his party. He says that they will head for the capital later, because first, he wants to head to the Sunguard Mountains, which contain the legendary Magic Queen's dungeon. Theron says that it is just a legend, but Kyle pulls out a map of the dungeon, saying that the dungeon is real, and the map even points out the location of the treasure room. Both Theron and Lise start pitying him, thinking that someone scammed Kyle by selling him a fake map, and he gets why they are reacting like this. However, when Urza looks at the map and says that it is made from the bark of the world tree using a technology that went extinct 2,000 years ago, which means that this map is the real deal. Theron and Lise believe her immediately, annoying Kyle, but then they remark that the treasure room is too far and it will take a lot of time to reach it. Kyle tells them not to worry because he has got a plan, and his plan is just digging a tunnel to reach the treasure room faster. While Kyle and Theron do the digging, Urza becomes the taskmaster, ordering them to do things properly. As they take a break at night, Lise has already prepared dinner for them using the bear she killed using her bare hands. After a few days of digging, they are almost about to reach the treasure room, but on seeing Kyle alone, Urza decides to have a serious chat with him. She wants to know why he wants to become a hero so badly and if it is related to the reason he knows her true name. As Kyle wonders if he should tell her the truth, he hits the end of the wall and opens the way to the treasure room. This interrupts their conversation, and he tells Urza to call Theron and Lise immediately. They head into the treasure room together, and the pile of gold immediately turns Theron mad. As he jumps into the treasure and starts screaming like a madman, Kyle warns the girls to not turn out like him. Immediately after that, he decides to let everyone get busy with gold and runs off to a secret room where the real treasure lies, which is the sword he used in his past life. The sword appears in front of him in the form of a lowly spirit who praises him for clearing various challenges and reaching here safely, but Kyle just shuts her mouth, telling her that his friends will hear him. The lowly lashes out at him, telling him that he needs to buy her dinner before getting freaky. She asks if he even knows who she is, and he shuts her mouth again, saying he knows that she is a weapon created by the Magic Queen Sildonia, who ruled the Magic Kingdom of Zarls during its peak. He also knows that the sword contains a part of the Queen's knowledge and consciousness, and the sword spirit asks him how he can know all that. Kyle tells her that he will tell her everything soon, but right now, he needs to hurry and take on the final challenge. The lowly decides to play along and returns to the gemstone on the sword's hilt. Next, Kyle picks up the sword and suddenly, the lowly uses her abilities to gaze into his mind. She reads the memories of his past life, and immediately appears in her human form again, asking if that was all real. Kyle confirms that it was all real, and he has the heart of the divine dragon with him right now. The lowly Sildonia can't believe that time travel magic actually exists, but just then, Kyle's friends arrive there looking for him. He tells Sildonia to act along with him because he doesn't want his friends to know about the past yet, and she reluctantly agrees. Just as Lise and others arrive there, Kyle begins shouting about how he got a legendary intelligent sword named Sildonia, and soon, the lowly becomes part of the group as well. As she eats cookies baked by Lise, Sil answers the questions of Kyle's friends. She tells them that she is a part of the magic queen Sildonia, who left her inside the sword to judge people who came to claim her treasure. She then tells Kyle that if he had not been worthy of taking her treasure, she would have activated the final trap, destroying the dungeon and everyone inside it. However, she gives him the permission to use the sword for now. She also tells him to take the magic bag that connects to the treasure room so he can withdraw any amount he needs. After that, they head to the capital city, and Kyle says that now that they have money, they should buy some good quality gear for themselves, and immediately heads to the most famous weapon shop in the city. The receptionist coldly greets him and asks if he has any referral from their established customers, and Kyle suddenly remembers that this shop is a bit exclusive and new customers have to deposit money before going on. The receptionist tells him that the fee is 10,000 coins per person, and Kyle simply gives him 5 Zarl's coins to cover the fees for all his friends. The receptionist quickly leads the group inside, where the shop owner Fezba greets them. Sil immediately recognizes some weapons made by a famous smith during her rule, and starts yapping about how she knew the weaponsmith personally and he wasn't even that good. Kyle shuts her mouth, telling Fezba that the girl is really imaginative, and then they distract Sil with some snacks. Kyle goes to see the best armor that the shop has. Fezba tells him about the armor made from dragon leather and phoenix feathers, explaining how it is really expensive because of those raw materials, but Kyle decides to buy it without haggling. He tells his friends to buy whatever they need for the journey ahead. And soon, Lise buys a set of gauntlets, while Urza buys an amulet with a spirit stone. Theron buys an armor as well, and then begins hitting at the receptionist, who runs away, thinking that he is a creep. After that, Kyle asks Fezba for some magic stones, and he shows him one that has explosion magic stored inside it. Kyle decides to take it, and then asks for a magic stone that will be more effective against reptile-like monsters. The shopkeeper brings out a blizzard magic stone, and Kyle says that he will take every piece of it he has in stock, along with every bottle of healing potion. Fezba's panic keeps increasing as Kyle keeps adding things to his cart, and seeing the full payment in front of him blows his mind away. Anyway, after the shopping spree, Theron is worried that nasty rumors about them might start, but Kyle tells him that they are going to leave the capital tomorrow, so the rumors don't matter. Theron panics on hearing that, and he immediately decides to hit the bars to pick some girls, while Lise and Urza decide to explore the city together. Sil also wants to eat all the snacks she can, but Kyle stops her to discuss something important in private. Once they reach a hotel room, Kyle asks her if the future can really be changed, and Sil gives him the theory about how he came to a different universe when he traveled to the past. She says that the future won't be exactly identical, but the big events will remain the same, like the Great Demonic Invasion 3 years from now. However, the future can be changed if they make an effort, and that is enough for Kyle. Suddenly, he realizes that since he came to this world with the Divine Dragon's heart, this universe's version of the same should still be with the Demon King. Sil hears his worries and says that she has a theory about that. She says that the most taboo forbidden spell fuses souls to increase magic power, and they tried researching it during her time, but they failed badly. She then asks Kyle to think about what happened to the soul of the Kyle of this world, because he obviously came from another world. He suddenly realizes that his soul fused with the soul of the Kyle of this world, and Sil tells him that he obtained the soul fusion that her empire's most genius researchers could not achieve. Kyle remembers that his magic power had greatly increased earlier, and now everything makes sense to him. He asks Sil if there are any side effects of the soul fusion, and she tells him that it has never been done before, so no one knows about it. Later at night, Lise and Urza share a room, and Lise goes to bed first while the elf baddie bathes in moonlight and sips wine. She begins thinking about how this short trip went better than she expected, and her thoughts ultimately get stuck on Kyle. She catches herself smiling thinking about him, but then suddenly, she realizes that they had to do a special ceremony tonight because it is the night of the full moon. Meanwhile, Kyle is out in the woods, catching his breath after an intense training session. He begins talking with Sil about how awesome the sword is, and how other mithril swords he used doesn't stand a chance against it. Sil tells him that this sword is not made of mithril, but before she can elaborate, Urza comes there running. Kyle asks her why is she in such a hurry, and she reminds him that they have to do the application of contract on the full moon night so that she can protect her real name. Kyle also realizes that he forgot about it, and he says that they should do it another time because he is really tired right now. Urza, however, tells him that they can't delay the ritual by another month because her true name is at stake here. He reluctantly agrees, and then Urza begins drawing a complex magic circle on the ground. The ritual they are going to do is usually done when two elves get married, and they offer each other their true names while promising to be together for life. When she heard Kyle suggest it to her, her heart fluttered, and she still can't believe that she is going to undergo marriage rituals with someone she just met a month ago. Anyway, once she is done with the magic circle, she wakes Kyle up and tells him to get his inside the circle. Next, she activates the magic circle for the application of the contract, and Kyle remembers the last time they did it. Urza asks him if he swears to not share her real name or use it for evil, and Kyle affirms. She says that the contract is completed with this, but Kyle remembers that they kissed the last time, so he suddenly kisses her. Urza enjoys the moment for a full second before getting flustered. She pushes Kyle out, calling him a molester and asking how dare he kiss her. He tells her that he thought that they kissed to seal the deal, but Urza tells him that it is a wedding-only thing. Kyle nervously tells her that they should consider this just an unfortunate accident in that case, and Urza snaps, attacking him with fire magic. The next morning, Kyle and Urza are sleepy because of last night's incidents, and Theron is sleepy because he was trying to pick up girls all night long, but got shot down by all of them. Kyle ignores him and turns to Urza, asking if she is going to travel with them even after the application of contract is done. And she replies that she has no choice because he has not told her about how he learned true name yet. Kyle is glad to hear that, but then Lise snaps him out of his romantic delulu by asking why are they heading to the city of Archen. Kyle panics because he can't tell her the truth, so he says that Syl can vaguely guess the future, and she told him to head to Archen. Soon, they reach the city, and coincidentally, Princess Mylna of the Zergus Empire is also there on some official business. The people gather to see a glimpse of her, and Kyle and his friends also join the crowd. While Mylna wins everyone's hearts with her kindness and grace, Kyle's attention is fixed on her bodyguard Zentos, who was one of his close friends in the past life. Zentos also notices him staring at him, but he doesn't take any action on the spot. Meanwhile, Syl asks Kyle if this is the princess he talked about earlier, and he affirms, saying that Princess Mylna is going to die 2 days from now. Later, they head to their room where Kyle tells Syl that Mylna is here to pay her condolences to the villages attacked by the Hydra monster. But 2 days later, as she heads to a nearby village, her group will be attacked by the Hydra, killing her. While everyone will think that it was the misfortune of the kind princess, Kyle thinks that it is the result of Mylna's stupidity because she should not have gone to the place where a monster was attacking people. Syl says that it might be an assassination attempt too, and Kyle remembers that there were rumors that Mylna's half-brother, Prince Cairnus, was behind the assassination attempt, but they were never proven. However, he is suspicious of the prince because he is in the city right now. But he doesn't show his face to anyone because he is a loser who doesn't leave his room just like you all. Well, Kyle doesn't care about the reasons, because the only thing he wants is to save the princess and be recognized as a hero right from the start of his career. Kyle says that if he wants to be recognized as a hero, he needs to make it really natural and organic when he rushes to help her. Just then, Theron comes to the room, saying that he couldn't find out anything about Princess Mylna's schedule. Kyle asks him why was he looking into that in the first place, and the Dispo hopeless romantic replies that he wants to save the princess from danger and start sparks of romance between them. Kyle feels disappointed at himself because he had the same idea as his dimwit friend. Theron tells him to get in line because he called dibs on Mylna first, but Kyle assures him that he already has more bitches than he can handle. He reveals that Mylna is actually in danger and once again uses Syl's prophecy ability as his source. Theron completely believes him and declares that he will just keep following the princess around. He is quite confident in his abilities to stalk women, and Kyle hopes that this idiot doesn't mess up his plans. The next day, as Mylna's convoy leaves the town, Kyle and his friends eagerly watch her from the bushes. The girls wonder how they can follow the princess's convoy without being noticed to save her from the danger she is supposed to be in, and Syl tells them that she has got it covered. She immediately turns into a hawk, surprising everyone. She explains that she is just the gemstone in Kyle's sword, and her body is a projection made using magic, so she can easily alter her form. She then flies above Mylna's convoy, and Kyle and others can see whatever she is seeing through the gemstone on the sword. They all get distracted as they discuss how this ability can be used for every pervert's favorite activity. Sil tells them to pay attention to the footage because things have started getting dangerous in the convoy. The drivers have suddenly started attacking the guards, and Kyle realizes that he needs to join the fight now. By the time he reaches the convoy, the drivers have defeated all the guards and started a ritual to summon monsters. As soon as they see Kyle and his crew, they get ready to fight. But Kyle uses a skill to boost his speed and knocks them out before they can do anything. He then ties up the traitors so that they can be interrogated later. And in the meanwhile, Theron checks up on Mylna to find that she is alive but unconscious. Kyle asks him to stay with the princess and protect her when suddenly a hyena monster attacks him. He quickly slashes through it, but then a huge pack of hyenas surround the carriage. Kyle and the girls try their best to fend them off, but the hyenas attack the unconscious guards. Kyle asks Theron if he can drive the carriage to safety, but he finds that the reins have been cut and he will need to tie them up tightly. The situation already looks tense, but then the Hydra also starts approaching them. Kyle can predict that it will reach them soon based on its ground rumbling footsteps, and he tells his friends that their top priority is to keep the princess safe. He asks Theron and the girls to take Mylna away from the place while he stays behind to fight the Hydra. The girls don't like the idea, but Kyle assures them that he is not being reckless and he actually has a shot at beating the monster. Urza decides to trust him, and then Kyle runs off to face the Hydra. Sil asks him if he is sure he can defeat such a powerful monster alone, and Kyle says that it will depend on the number of heads because the more heads a Hydra has, the stronger it is. He is confident that he can down a Hydra with 3 heads, but when the monster comes in front of him, he forgets math and the only thing he can tell is that it has more than 3 heads. Kyle Loki craps his pants on seeing the 8-headed Hydra, but it is too late to run now, and he decides to see things through. He easily dodges the straightforward attacks from the Hydra heads, but when the monster starts breathing poison, he shields himself with his robe. The poison immediately kills the plants nearby, but thanks to the high-quality armor, Kyle stays completely safe. He then takes out the blizzard magic stone from his bag and yeets it at the Hydra, who stops moving because of the freezing cold. Next, he uses the explosion magic stone to deal massive damage to the monster, creating an opening on its scaly body. Kyle then charges ahead to take advantage of the shallow wound and blocks another round of poison breath using his robe. He cuts off one head of the Hydra quickly, but that is as useful as all the sorry messages I sent to my ex last night because the head immediately regenerates. He still keeps fighting using the same stupid strategy of cutting the Hydra heads that grow out again without a problem, and then realizes that he has no blizzard stones left. Despite his continuous attacks, the Hydra doesn't seem even a little bit weaker, and Kyle decides to use his endgame strategy. He rushes towards the Hydra with his super speed skill while hiding an explosion stone in his hand. The Hydra isn't fast enough to react to him, and Kyle easily pierces through its chest. He widens the wound hole and then stuffs a bunch of activated explosion stones inside the Hydra's body right before he gets hit away. He somehow gets up despite taking a lot of damage, and the Hydra begins walking aggressively towards him. However, the explosion stones detonate all at once, blowing off the Hydra from 3 different angles like some Indian TV show. As a result of the powerful explosion, the Hydra's body is scattered all over the place, and Sil tells Kyle that he should have done it sooner to save up on some of his magic stones. Kyle replies that it was a last-ditch effort, and he can't use this risky technique in combat all the time, but he is glad that he managed to beat such a powerful monster. On the other hand, Urza and others have also defeated the monsters, and they decide to support Kyle immediately. However, he returns there just then, telling them that the Hydra was a tough opponent, but it was not strong enough to beat him. The girls are happy to hear that, but the very next moment they clench their noses and tell Kyle that he stinks of burnt Hydra meat and he should take a bath before getting close to them. Kyle is disheartened by this because he was hoping that his girls would praise him more, but anyway, he takes a bath. In the meantime, Theron is still working on making the carriage usable, and the princess and her servants are still unconscious. Kyle thinks that they were poisoned, so he asks the girls to give them an antidote. Just then, Theron gives him a pouch that he found nearby, and Kyle realizes that it was used to summon the monsters, which means that this was an assassination attempt made to look like a monster attack. As it turns out, Prince Cairns was really behind the assassination attempt, and Mylna's bodyguard Zentos is working with him too. They receive the news of their failed attempt, and Zentos decides to send another squad to finish the job. Back in the forest, it is already evening when Mylna slowly comes to her senses, and she can't believe that she is still alive. Urza asks her to remain calm, and Mylna says that she never thought she would wake up again. She asks Kyle and his friends if they saved him, and Theron immediately swoops in to take all the credit. One sucker punch from Lise quickly knocks him out though, and then Kyle formally introduces himself to Mylna, saying that they are a group of traveling adventurers who spotted her convoy under attack and rushed to help her. Just then, her servant wakes up, and she immediately gets it between Mylna and Kyle, trying to save her from a stranger. Mylna assures her that Kyle and his friends saved them, so they can trust them. She then gets up to see the situation outside, and Kyle tells her that things are pretty ugly there. However, Mylna doesn't care, and once she steps on the battlefield, she is a completely different person. She begins inspecting the dead drivers, and Kyle tells her about how they were the ones who killed the guards by the time he arrived. Just then, Syl tells him that a squad of royal knights is heading towards them, and Kyle relays that information to Mylna. She panics on hearing that and says that they need to run away immediately, because if the royal knights find them, they will kill not only her but Kyle and his friends too. Kyle asks her why would the people from her own kingdom want to kill her, and she replies that the man who wants to kill her is Zentos. Kyle can't believe that Zentos would do something like this, but Mylna is confident in her statement. She then tells her maid Arka to burn all the bodies in the area so that the royal guards waste some time trying to locate her among them. She says that they need to buy as much time as they can to escape, and then tells her maid to drive the carriage. She asks Kyle and his group to come with her so that she can explain the situation, and Theron decides to throw the monster summoning pouch into the flame as well, thinking that a bunch of monsters will slow down the knights even more. Meanwhile, in the carriage, Kyle asks Mylna if Zentos, who is the commander of the 2nd Battalion of Royal Knights, is really the one trying to kill her. Mylna affirms that, and also says that Zentos is working with her half-brother Cairns. While Theron and Urza are shocked to hear about the family quarrel, Kyle still can't believe that Zentos would try to kill the princess. She tells him that she heard it directly from his mouth yesterday. She explains that she was given sleeping medicine in her drink, and when she was slowly falling asleep, she clearly saw Zentos and Cairns talking about how she would not wake up till the next evening, but by then, she would be inside a monster's stomach. Mylna always knew that her brother wanted to kill her, but she thought he was a pathetic wimp who couldn't do that. However, she never thought Zentos would join hands with him. She says that usually, her choice of guard is the 5th Battalion that is made up entirely of women, but they are often summoned to the capital because of how grand and elegant they look during ceremonies. That is why Zentos and his battalion became her guards for this trip. Kyle still finds it hard to believe that Zentos is now their enemy, and he tells Mylna that he must have already moved on to the next plan since the previous one failed. She agrees with him, and then Kyle remarks that if Zentos succeeds in killing her, he will blame his party for the murder, making them the villains of the story. He also realizes that Mylna shared all the details with them because that makes his party a threat to Zentos, so they can't leave her on her own now. Mylna is glad to see that he is smart enough to see through her plan, and says that they should do their best to survive together. She promises to reward them once they reach the capital safely, and Kyle replies that they don't need money or status, and just honor and fame will be enough to satisfy them. Mylna then moves on to the strategy, saying that they are at an advantage if they play the waiting game. The 5th Battalion is scheduled to arrive in the city of Archen the next day, and they will immediately come looking for her when they find that she is missing. They are equally strong as the 2nd Battalion led by Zentos, and if any commotion arises, it will harm Zentos more than them. Theron suggests that they hide in the nearby village till reinforcements arrive, but Kyle says that is a stupid idea. Zentos will probably burn the entire village down to kill them, and that will put more innocent people at risk without any chance of success. He suggests that they turn back and reach Archen, because it has thousands of people and their enemies can't kill all of them. Moreover, they will meet with the 5th Battalion faster this way, and together they can win against Zentos. Mylna says that they will run into the pursuers if they turn back now, and Kyle tells her that they will deal with them when they reach them. First, they stop to restock their supplies, and in the meantime, Kyle sends Syl on a recon mission. She finds that Zentos is not with the knights, and Kyle says that it makes things really easy for them. Mylna is surprised by the abilities of his intelligent sword, and then by the buttload of magic stones his party has. Just then, Lise gives her a box full of top-class healing potions, telling her to drink one if she gets injured, and Mylna is even more surprised. She asks who the hell are they exactly, and Kyle replies that they are a bunch of aspiring heroes. On the other hand, Cairnes is throwing a tantrum because Zentos failed his mission to kill Mylna. Zentos, however, calmly assures him that he has sent his men to finish the job that the monsters couldn't do. Cairnes tells him to go there and kill the princess personally, but Zentos reminds him that when the 5th Battalion comes to the city and finds Mylna missing, they will interrogate him, which he won't be able to handle. Cairnes backs down on hearing that, and Zentos assures him that he won't fail in his mission this time. Back in the forest, the knights see Mylna's carriage coming towards them, and the vice captain tells his men to shoot the horses and make them stop. They get in position and take aim, when suddenly, a few magic stones drop from the sky right in front of them. The knights don't even realize what is going on until the explosions start, and Syl keeps dropping the magic stones from the sky. The vice captain tells everyone to return to the formation, but then Kyle drives the carriage right towards him. He rolls to the side to escape while telling his soldiers to fire at them, and on the carriage, Urza and Theron help Kyle clear the path. They manage to get through the knights without any difficulty, and once they reach the safe zone, they chug some healing potions, thanking God that they are filthy rich. Suddenly, their carriage stops with a jerk, and they get outside to find that driving it through the enemy lines was not as safe as they thought, and they have busted a wheel. With no way to repair it, they decide to walk ahead on foot, and Lise leads the princess and her assistants. Meanwhile, Kyle tells Urza that someone needs to stay behind and stop the knights from catching up with them. Otherwise, they will be cornered at the city gates. Urza tells him that it is dangerous, but Kyle replies that only 30 knights are left after their previous attacks, and they can handle it. She gets angry at him for thinking about risking his life again, but Kyle tells her that he isn't going to do it this time. He tells Theron to stall the royal knights, and he doesn't even fully process that before agreeing. Soon, Kyle tells Urza to cast a wind spell on them so that they can move faster, and only once they start running away does Theron realize that they are leaving him. He asks where they are going, and Kyle tells him to do his best. He panics when it realizes that he has been left behind for real, and soon, the knights arrive there. However, instead of fighting them, Theron waves the white flag and surrenders. He begs them to spare his life, saying that it was not even his fault and everything was planned by Kyle. He offers to give them the money he has and even reveal the location of the dungeon where they found it, but the vice captain doesn't seem interested in it. His soldiers quickly find that the carriage is empty, and he decides to keep chasing the princess. As for Theron, he orders his soldiers to dispose of him. On hearing this, Theron suddenly clings to him, saying that he is willing to do anything, even giving a Gluck Gluck 2000 to all the knights here to save his life. But the vice captain gets angry and decides to finish him off himself. On the other hand, Urza is worried about Theron, and she believes that the knights will kill him. Kyle says that he would have also preferred it if no one died, and Urza can't believe that he is saying it seriously. However, Lise suddenly realizes that they haven't told her Theron is actually the strongest one among them. Back with the knights, a man has died, as it sure as hell ain't Theron. Instead, he has killed the vice captain before he could even strike him. He then starts aura farming in the middle of the knights, saying that killing the biggest guy is the right way to start a battle. The knights stare in shock as Kyle removes his gloves before taking off his training rings and bracelet that increase his weight by 10 times. He feels a lot lighter now that his restraints are off, and as the knights attack him, he chops them down effortlessly. He then suddenly throws a magic stone towards the horses, causing an explosion that startles them. The horses run away, leaving the knights stranded, and Theron is pleased with that. He kills a few more knights before realizing that he has done enough. He suddenly drops his sword, telling them that his mission was to slow them down and not to kill them all. Now that their leader is dead and their horses have run away, they won't be able to catch the princess, so it is useless for them to keep fighting and risk their lives. He asks the knights to leave now because he doesn't want to kill anyone else, and they decide to take his offer because they know they can't win. However, he was just toying with them, and just as the knights have their back turned towards him, he throws some explosion magic stones to take them out. The ones that are still alive get killed by his swift and merciless strikes. Theron then sits down in the middle of the bloody battlefield, exhausted by acting like a fool and killing 30 knights on his own. In the city, Zentos loses his connection with the knights, and he realizes that they failed too. He decides to take the matter in his own hands and leaves a few knights to guard Cairnas while he heads into the forest by himself. Syl notices him riding towards them and warns Kyle, but Zentos notices her spying on him. He hits her with an energy ball, taking her down, and Syl says that he seems quite powerful and skilled. All this is enough to tell Kyle that Zentos is coming towards them, and he stops his group immediately. He tells Lise and Urza to guard the princess, and if things don't look good, they should immediately turn around and meet with Theron. Mylna asks Kyle if he is sure that he can fight against one of the strongest knights of their kingdom alone, and he replies that he didn't want to fight him, but now there seems to be no other choice. Mylna suddenly starts staring at him and then asks why does he talk like he knows Zentos personally. She asks if it was really a coincidence that he found her when she was in danger, but then decides that it is not the right time for such questions. She thanks Kyle for fighting on her behalf, and he promises that he will return victorious. The dawn soon arrives, and with that, Zentos reaches the place where Kyle is waiting for him. He gets down from his horse and walks towards him, asking if he is the one helping the princess. Kyle affirms and asks why is he alone when he has more knights with him. Zentos replies that he doesn't want more of his men to die for something that doesn't concern them, when he is enough to finish the job. In a desperate attempt to not kill him, Kyle requests Zentos to surrender, promising that he will even ask the princess to pardon him. Zentos finds that statement absurd, and then Kyle asks him why he tried to kill the princess in the first place because money and status couldn't convince him to betray her. Zentos refuses to answer his questions and takes his stance, convinced that he will win quickly and then reach the princess. Kyle takes the same stance, and then both of them cast spells to enhance their speed and strength. They dash towards each other and Kyle dodges the first attack from Zentos. However, that was just an illusion, and the real Zentos was hiding behind it. But Kyle knew about that already. He manages to dodge his next attack and land a hit on him, chipping off a bit of his magic shield. Zentos is shocked by this because no one has been able to dodge his attack on their first fight. But he doesn't know that Kyle knows all about his fighting style, because he learned from him in his previous life. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.